Hello, fabulous watercolor card artists. I can't wait to share with you this beautiful nighttime summer sky that I'm going to paint for you. It reminds me of my garden and the summer nights in Iowa, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I hope you paint along with me. You're going to find lots of tips on how to use loose and fluid watercolor and some color theory along the way. So I can't wait to get started. And all right, let's get started. So I have these colors. I have Duochrome Tropical Sunrise by Daniel Smith. I love this stuff. It's just an iridescent pigment that just makes my heart so happy when I use it. So I use it a lot in my cards because you gotta use colors that make you happy. Cerulean Blue, Rose Madder, Permanent, Quinacridone Sienna. If you don't have Quinacridone Sienna, you could totally use Pyro Orange, or you could actually just mix new Gamboge with Rose Madder and you'd still get a nice orange. You don't have to have orange, but I have it in here just to show you how to blend the colors, but you don't have to. Anyways, and then what's not pictured is this dioxazine purple, because I already had it on my palette. Here's my palette that I just made. I use a pie plate. And so there's my purple, my cerulean blue, my rose, my quinacridone orange, and my gamboge yellow. So, and I did use a different stamp than the Black-Eyed Susan ones because it fills the whole page. And you kind of notice down here it has this like problem, which isn't a big deal, but I wanted to show you another stamp. You can get these, I call them shadow stamps. You can get these shadow stamps anywhere. This one came from Tailored Expressions, and I'll link to it below. But you can find a lot of like either shadow or silhouette stamps. I also call them silhouette stamps. They're just fun. And then I stamped it with Premium Hybrid ink or archival ink. They're the same thing, just different names for different brands. So let's get started. And I do have two panels here because I am probably going to use both of them. I like to stamp a couple and then paint a couple at the same time. So with this one, I'm going to start down at the bottom and work my way up. I'm going to go to my lightest values to the darkest value. If you look on a color wheel, purple and yellow are opposites of each other, and yellow is the lightest value, and so that's what I'm going to start with. I'm going to go lightest to darkest, and purple is then the darkest. So I'm just going to add some yellow. I don't like to go in a straight line. I don't mind for the yellow, and I want it to be pretty saturated kind of right here, but not so much that I can't see the ink. So I'm going to clean my brush off. And watercolor, especially these kind of watercolors, this technique, not the actual pigment, you want to get kind of in and out. You don't really want to spend a whole lot of time messing around too much. So that's why I just kind of don't think, just put the color on and it'll go well. All right, I'm going to use my Quin Sienna, and whoo, that is some orange. You see how bright and vivid that orange is? I'm going to put some right on top of the yellow, and I'm just kind of going in a half moon shape because I want it to look like the sun is setting. And I will probably have to come back in and add a little bit more. Now I'm going to add a little bit of rose, and you can kind of tell that my rose and my orange kind of mixed, and that's okay. I'm going to add my rose right into here, and I'm going more at a diagonal because I want some atmospheric mood going on, and that's how I'm getting it. Okay, that's probably enough. I want to save some more room for the blue and the purple, and I feel like if I go up any more, I'm going to be missing out. Now, I'm going to have to do this again because the water is going to dry a lot lighter, and I still want to have that dynamic sunset. So this is just one of probably two, maybe even a third layer where I'm going to see. I'm hopeful to only get to 2 layers, but we'll see. All right, now I'm going to go into my blue, and it's going to probably turn a tiny bit purple, but that's okay because in the sunset it's not just a rainbow color, right? You got blues and pinks and yellows, and then blues and pinks and yellows, so that's what I'm going with. All right, and here's my dioxazine purple, which, by the way, it's my favorite. I go back and forth from Imperial Purple from Daniel Smith to dioxazine purple or violet, depending on the brand. But I want it to get very, very... All right, and now I really like the blending, but I see some lines that I'm not loving, so I'm going to just splatter some water, tilt it around a little bit. I still see this line that I'm not crazy about, so I'm going to add a little bit more of this. And then while it's still kind of running, you can kind of see it really running, I'm going to add some more of I'm going to add this tropical, the Durachrome Tropical Sunrise. It is a pretty penny, I'm not going to lie. It's not a cheap tube of watercolor, but worth its weight in gold. It's just so much fun to play with. And all you need is a little splatter. All right, I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to show you what I mean. Let's go dark to light this time, just so you can get an idea of the difference. And sometimes I know Anna Mason likes to go dark to light, if you ever follow her. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just I have been taught by one of my amazing watercolor artists, teachers, Alexis Levine, to always go light to dark. And also Michael Holter, when I went to his workshop, he also mentioned he likes to go light to dark. So I think there's something to it. Doesn't have, every artist does its own thing, but you can kind of see the color play, and I just love that part. That's my favorite, is when you see the color really mix. Yeah. All right, now I'm going to go back into my Quinn Rose, and this is where I want to kind of get a little bit more. I'm going to add some blue right in here, because I can. I might need some more cerulean, but you can just kind of make these little wispy clouds. And we'll go back and add some more before we're done. But now I can go into my orange. Oh, look at how beautiful that is. I just love this Quin Sienna. I don't know why you would ever get a different orange. I have Pyrrole orange, and that does work, but it's not as beautiful as this Quin Sienna. It's just, this Quin Sienna is lovely. And then I have this beautiful New Gamboge. I chose New Gamboge because of its warm qualities, because I wanted a feel of a sunset, and I always feel like sunsets should be very warm, because it's been hot all day on a summer day. It should be warm. Okay, so that's looking good, and now I'm going to splatter again. So there's two different ways to go about it. There's no right way and there's no wrong way. It's just fun. Okay, so there's this one. If I see any backgrounds, I'm going to kind of take care of those when that happens. I'm using 140 paper. Yes, it curls. Do I care? I don't, because I know it's going to dry flat and it'll be fine. Okay, I got a little bit of backgrounds here, but that's okay, because if you're going to mat it, you will never see the backgrounds. But in case you're not going to mat it and you actually do want to, you want it to look as nice as possible. All right, so you can tell that it's a little bit lighter. So let's add some more. I'm going to add some more of this New Gamboge. I almost ran out. I don't want to run out. I do like to use fresh paint when I can. Doesn't mean I always do. In fact, it probably means I don't usually paint with fresh tubed paint, but for tutorials I like to, because you don't need to see me try and keep working in there. Oh, and so this is what I'm doing now, is technically called a glaze. It's still a little wet, so I don't want to completely go all in, but I can glaze over some of the color. I'm going to leave some of it. Watercolor is so transparent that you can really have a lot of fun, and that's where I mean Don't don't just do the same thing. I'm gonna add a little bit more of that. There we go. That was my Rose Madder from Daniel Smith, and I love it so much. All right, so this, I think I'm going to be a little bit more bold. I'm going to add some right there, and then I'm going to add a tiny little bit right here, and then with a clean brush, my brush is clean, there's not a whole lot of pigment on it, it's just wet, just damp. I'm going to blend that line a bit. I'm liking that. All right, the cerulean needs a little bit more. I feel like I washed it out a little bit. That's okay. It just means I can. And when I'm painting, I'm always thinking about how clouds are forming, so that's why I kind of do those wispy brush strokes. Because at this point, you're going to see all the brush strokes. So I'm painting as if I'm painting clouds. I don't know if it's the sky or clouds at this point, but I would rather enjoy painting wispy clouds in my mind. All right, that is looking really awesome. And now, because I did it to the first one, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to clean my brush, and I'm just going to add more of that tropical sunrise duochrome from Daniel Smith. I think that'll do it. And it just kind of like blends into the background, but look at that. And then you'll get something very similar to this. This was an A5 card, so 5.5 by 4.25, and this is a 5 by 7. And I see a corner that I missed. I think I might even frame this. I really like this. I think if I'm going to do anything else, I think I want my orange to go down just a tiny bit. I have this beautiful diagonal thing. Let's keep going with it. And even right there works. It'll blend in a bit. You won't see a whole lot of that orange, but it's there. And then I wanted to add a little bit more of that cerulean there. I like that. And then of course I have to add some more of that perm rose. And I think I'm going to call that good. I'm afraid that if I do anything more, I'm going to just mess it up. So I'm going to let that go. Look at that. A full-on wash in under about 10 minutes. That's about my breaking point for skies. Get in, get out, add the color that you need, and let the rest do its wonderful thing. Now I could go back in once it's dry again and add this to make it really, really dark, but you could do that. I'll show you here. This is a very light wash. Now if I wanted to go in and do some darker clouds, maybe I don't want it to be as loose, I can do that. And now I'm just going to lose these edges by softening those edges. And then I think I'll add some more of this red. And this is just going to make it a bit more dynamic. The blues are going to get lighter and the reds. And I'm going to go in with where I think it would go. The water already kind of did its beautiful thing. I just have to like enhance it. So I'm going to let this edge kind of go wherever. I'm going to add some orange, but you see some of these watermarks right here? I'm just going to enhance those watermarks, right, like that. I'm going to clean my brush. Whoops. And then I'm going to lose this edge a little bit. And I'm not loving that edge, so. And then I'm just going to bring the rest of that down. So it's really just blending into the whole page, but that's going to add more dynamic. And then I think, because I have a little bit of pink left on, I'm going to do that as well. And then I'm going to blend this out just like that, just to give it some more dynamic. And then I really want to make the yellow a bit more brighter. So I'm going to add a lot more yellow down to the bottom. And this yellow, this new Gamboge, is quite opaque. And I'm okay with that for some things. It will dry a little bit lighter. But I want the black ink to really show through. And then I'm just going to blend that into the orange. And then you have a much more dynamic sky. And I could even go back in and add just a little bit more purple. And if I had some indigo, you could almost make it really dark like that too. But I'm keeping the brush on my page, and I'm just working it into the paper. But there you go. There's another dynamic sky. So 2 different looks, 2 different ways of doing it. Now I could go back in here for a 3rd layer. I don't think I will, but I could go back in with my 3rd layer. In fact, I do have just a little bit more. I'm afraid that if I mess with it too much, it's just going to start looking funny. But I don't love that shape, so I'm just going to blend it in, and that's okay. Okay, I'm feeling good about that. And what I didn't do for the last part for this is add some more of that, the rest of my tropical sun rays that I love so much. And again, I'm just gently splattering that in. So I have a very wet, juicy brush. I added that translucent. You can kind of see it on my brush in the bright light. And I'm just splattering it. You probably can't see it too well, but when it dries, it gets this really beautiful iridescent look. And it's just my favorite to work with. So anyways, I hope this gives you some ideas on how to paint dramatic skies. I love summer night skies. It is one of my favorite things to watch the sun set on a summer night in the prairie, in my backyard garden. It just makes my heart happy. So enjoy these summer nights, and I will be doing some Christmas tutorials soon, along with some florals that have just been making my heart sing. So enjoy watercolor, enjoy your summer, and we'll talk to you soon.